Welcome, everybody, to the Agent and the Fan podcast. I'm Chris Leible, along with my broadcast partner, Columna. Lou, how you doing, pal?
How do you think I'm doing, Chris? How do you think I'm doing?
Well, I think you're probably happy because Aaron Rodgers is officially a Jet. Is that correct?
We got our guy. And I got to be honest, I was excited before, but even more so now, especially after hearing the press conference and hearing what he had to say. It got me more excited about, this coming season. So it's a big day for the Jets. I think this is something that we've been clamoring for a very long time. And this is the first time in a very long time that I feel we can go into the season thinking we can make it to the Super Bowl, right? A lot of things can happen, obviously, in between that. But this is the first time in my lifetime, I feel, that I've said, okay, we got a shot.
And you know about the Chiefs, right? Because Patrick Mahomes is still there.
But you know what? It's interesting you say that, right? Because I've been hearing a lot of things about, about precisely that. And, why would Aaron Rodgers, he has so many guys, he has Burrow, he has Mahomes. It's a packed, conference. But somebody mentioned to me the other day, and I thought it was pretty interesting. He's like, Aaron Rodgers is saying to himself, I'm Aaron Rodgers, right? Forget about these guys. I'm Aaron Rodgers. And I like that, and I thought about that more and more. Like, of course, yeah, Mahomes and Burrow are, my God, Buffalo.
Josh Allen.
I can't believe I forgot Josh Allen's name. But, those are three big guys to kind of deal with. But I think Aaron Rodgers is such that he's like, I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Well, listen, to get to where any of those guys have gotten, you have to have that type of attitude and that type of bravado. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is known for that. Being brash and bold and extremely confident in his abilities. Some people say cocky or whatever. I don't say that.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. So, yeah, you got to have it. And obviously, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out and how the Jets do, because obviously also it is still a team game and it's not just up to one player. Obviously, the Jets have some nice pieces in place, but how will it mesh? How will Aaron Rodgers do with those pieces? How will the defense hold up? Obviously, the defense has looked pretty good. The line will be interesting. What they do in the draft will be interesting. It's just a lot going on there. So it'll be fascinating to see. Obviously, the Bills are great, their own defense, and Patriots are not slouches either. So it's going to be the toughest division in football. I think it appears that way as we sit here today. So it'll be interesting. And like you said, Joe Burrow over in Cincinnati, and obviously the King, Patrick in Kansas City. And then, of course, you also always have, Justin Herbert in the Chargers is always a guy who's a threat. And, Raiders picked up Jimmy G, and they've kind of turned the organization around. There's always, Bill Belichick is always looming up in New England. So there's always a lot of pitfalls along the way. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and how the Jets do. But as we said, the draft coming up this weekend is always exciting to me. It's my favorite time of the year. I love the draft. I'm a huge draft Nick, always have been. I've used to try and stay home from school and trick my mom that I was sick to go watch it back in the day when it was on like a Tuesday during the day. But I love the draft. I watch the full combine from minute to minute. It's like 8 hours, 4 days. I watch every minute of that on that broadcast on NFL Network. So I love it. I'm ready to go. I'm excited to see how this is going to play out. Obviously it's going to be a interesting open, first day of the draft. A lot of talk with quarterbacks. So I think that's going to be fun to see, and who's going to plug and play and who's going to go where. So, it's going to be an interesting, obviously the trade at the top of the draft. So I'm very interested and excited for that to get started.
No, I agree. I mean, listen, of all the major sports, the NFL draft by far is my favorite. Not only because, it's the NFL, but with the NBA, for example, I'll lose interest after the top 10 pick, right?
Yeah.
After that, I'm like, doesn't matter to me who's in 24, who's in the second round. In baseball, obviously, it's baseball, so you never know, But the NFL, man, because you can get quality in the second, third, fourth round.
Well, if you look at some of the
these other
teams, even the
sports.
Rams won the Super Bowl. They had a lot of superstars at the top of their roster, and the rest of their team the last couple of years ago when they won the Super Bowl were fourth and fifth round picks that they just, did a great job drafting. So
Exactly.
And the other thing is football more than any other sport. If you're a fan of college football and you watch games on Saturdays, a lot of these guys. College baseball, you don't know that, and high school baseball, nobody knows that. The NBA, you're going to see a couple of top guys, but you barely even know them. They play 1 year if they're the top guys.
Exactly.
And then half the draft picks, you said the top 10, half of them are European, and we don't follow those guys as closely here in the United States. So there's no question. The NFL is a lot of fun. I think the quarterbacks at the top are very interesting. You got a wide assortment of guys that teams are looking at, and I'm very excited to see how it's going to go and who's going to get their man and who's going to get where and who likes who. What were you going to
No, so that was going to be my point, right? This year, I feel that there's not first of all, there's not a surefire number one, right? That that's my guy. We already know he's going to be picked.
Trevor Lawrence isn't there. Yep.
So the question I always have is, why do these teams? I mean, I know why, right? It's because they want that quarterback, but obviously you'll see a lot of people reaching for a quarterback, and I don't necessarily know if there's a quarterback that's worthy of being top 5 in this year's draft. They're worthy of being picked. Now we know they're going to get picked high because they're a quarterback.
It all depends on who you talk to, because different evaluators see everything differently. There are guys, that, the Alabama quarterback, the Ohio State quarterback, people love those guys, but they all have their little flaws. So there's, like you said, there's not a Trevor Lawrence where you have that prototype where you're like, okay, there's the no-brainer. The interesting pick this year in the draft is Anthony Richardson from Florida. He's the guy being talked about as going as early as in the top 4 of the draft. He's skyrocketed to do it. Some people are going to tell you he's going to be the second coming. Some people, think he's going to be tight end 1 someday. That's the fascinating part of it. The Kentucky quarterback Levis is an interesting guy, great arm talent. Some people like him, some people don't. I mean, to me, he's a guy I really want to keep an eye on because I think that's a real interesting guy that's probably not going to go in the top 5 in the draft or 6 or 7, and see where he goes. It'll be interesting. I'm going to go on the record on my podcast with you, Lou. Anthony Richardson, I do not think is going to be a good NFL quarterback. He has a huge arm. He certainly is a gifted athlete. I do not see it. I watched him play this past year. Florida Gators. This isn't a bias against the Florida Gators, who I hate with a passion. I try and call it like I see it. I'm a podcaster now. But I do not see any circumstance where this guy is an effective quarterback. Maybe Anthony Richardson will make me eat my words, and this will be brought up someday on different shows or whatever. And they said, look at this clown who was talking trash about the next Tom Brady. I don't see it personally. I think he's going to be a bust, and I think somebody's going to take him early and waste a pick on him. That's just my opinion. But Anthony Richardson, God bless him. I hope he proves me wrong. But I do not like him as a quarterback, and I would not take him on. I would not take an early pick on him. If I'm an NFL team, I see people as maybe even the Colts take him at 4. I think that would be a grave mistake. But again, that's my opinion, and I get one because I have a podcast.
all these GMs live and die by the draft. All these GMs live and die by that draft, drafting that quarterback, right? I'm with you. I didn't see, I'm not going to profess I saw this guy all the time. I know what you're talking about. That to me is, again, what I was saying is that a lot of these guys kind of reach for that quarterback, cross their fingers, and say, let's hope.
Yeah, and the talent and the gifts are there with this guy. I just, that doesn't, the talents and the gifts were there for Jamarcus Russell too, and Ryan
Yeah,
Leaf, and and guys like that. So I just don't see it personally. But it's going to be very interesting to see where this guy goes, and then follow his progression and see where he goes from there, because it's a fascinating situation we have with this guy. But to me, if you don't see that quarterback early on, look at some of these guys. We had Mr. Irrelevant almost take a team to the Super Bowl.
yeah,
So, you know, the top GMs and the top personnel departments in the NFL, they're going to have confidence. And to me, if I'm looking at some of these linemen and some of these offensive linemen that are plug and play, put them in there, 10-year guys that'll start for you. That's where I would go, and not reach for an Anthony Richardson. But we're going to find out. And I am so excited for that draft to begin, because that is always, it's like Christmas morning to me. So I'm pumped.
yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, to your point, these offensive linemen, they're not the sexy pick. They're not the quarterback, they're not the receiver, but they're necessary,
Yeah.
right? And I think a lot of teams, including the Jets, need these players, right? That's why I think it was easy for them to switch from 13, going from 13 to 15. I still feel they're going to get their guy at 15, right? Um, and
Yeah.
so and so I think going back, just going back to Aaron Rodgers and what they gave up, which we didn't discuss. I felt that it was a fair deal.
No, I thought it was a fair deal.
Yeah,
Again, they were hanging kind of over the barrel. They were both over the barrel. The Jets had to get Aaron Rodgers, and the Packers had to trade Aaron Rodgers, and the team they had to trade him to was the Jets. So they haggled with it. They argued. They went back and forth. They negotiated. They came up with, I think, a pretty fair deal. And we'll see where it happens. But I mean, when the Bears trade down from number 1 to number 9, and they could maybe go get a guy to protect Justin Fields, then you're looking at, I think a good job by their front office
yeah.
to do that. So it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm excited. So we'll see what these days bring. But I know we got to talk about a little bit about baseball.
Man, a lot to discuss. On our last show, I mentioned the Oakland A's stadium situation, right? And how horrible it is. Now we find out they're potentially moving to Vegas, right? Everything points to them moving to Vegas. They bought the plot of land. I know there's people still holding out hope that this is going to change. It's not going to change. They're going to Vegas, and that is what it is. I feel it's just a shame. Again, I said it before. It's a great fan base. They've been treated horribly by all these owners on the A's. The stadium is the situation is horrible. And quite honestly, I don't feel that these counties should be paying for stadiums. These are billionaires. They're going to make money hand over fist. I don't feel that's my opinion. I don't feel that these people should be having to hold these counties and cities hostage for money to build a stadium.
No, I agree. It's unfortunate. The A's are a team that's, this will be another move for them. They've had a couple already. This will be another one.
They're used to it.
They've made no bones about it. The ownership, which I don't really particularly care for, because I feel like that's kind of spitting in the face of the fans who have supported that team, and maybe they're not the biggest fan base, but obviously they've had a great history in Oakland with the Finley's
Charlie Finley.
mustache gang, and then to the Bash brothers, and then even more recently with some playoff teams with the Moneyball team. So I mean, they've had 3 strong eras over 50 years over there in Oakland, and it's unfortunate because they are such a passionate fan base, and similar to when the Raiders left. But to go out and say like, "Hey, we're working on towards a building land, and we bought land for 2027," which I mean that's well down the road for most of us. It's just kind of sad, and I do feel bad for their fans, and the players are kind of in limbo, and it's unfortunate, but Um, it's just kind of a sign of the times, I guess. But the way they've let that stadium get and the way the organization has kind of gone down it's unfortunate, it's sad, and I feel bad for a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the front office, and a lot of good people over in that organization. So I wish the best for them, and I do feel bad for their fan base because you know um,
They deserve better. They deserve better.
better. But again, they're not they're not supporting the team. While they do have their passionate fans, they're not really supporting the team fully, maybe. So
Yeah. Well, to me, I think it goes hand in hand, right? Like, you put a quality product on the field, you give them a good place to go to where there's not, sewage,
possibly,
crumbling building, possums all over the place. It's, like it's a crappy place to play. And and as a ball player, I mean, you would know more than I, you know, is the guy going to be excited even if, let's say, the team is winning? Is he going to be excited about going to play for the Oakland A's, right? Playing in front of 25,000 fans, in a bad stadium, none of the amenities that you get in these other stadiums now. I just feel like they could have had their stadium a long time ago, put up the money. These guys they're not millionaires, they're billionaires. And then they're asking, in whatever county they're in, for the taxpayer to foot the bill for a brand new stadium that, quite frankly, many of them are not going to enjoy, right?
yeah.
And they've done all these kinds of tests. None of this brings, what they say it's going to bring to the community. We know what it is, right? But it is, that's something that really kind of, bothers me. To that point, talking about another team with a stadium problem, but for a lot of different reasons, is the Tampa Bay Rays, who play in St. Petersburg. But by the way, the Rays are rocking, man. At this time, they're 20-3. I mean, they look like a locomotive, man. They on all cylinders. They hit. I mean, what, 21, 22 straight games with a home run. The pitching has been phenomenal. They have a fan base. They have fans that show up more so than Oakland. That's going to be interesting to see in the next couple of years what happens with Tampa. Are they going to stay in Tampa? Could they potentially be moving to Charlotte? We've heard Nashville, but we've heard Montreal, and then we heard that nonsense that they had a couple of years ago about splitting the season between Canada and the US. That's going to be interesting to see what happens with them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these guys have a formula that no one else has, and I mean, you got to give it to the front office and the organization, they and the ownership. These guys have they've uncovered something that is unbelievable, the way how they do it and how they keep competing with all the big boys every year. We always talk about payroll and the Yankees and Red Sox, and here these guys are every year right with those two teams and surpassing them. At this point, it's a fascinating situation. Obviously, the stadium deals and things are always specific to those areas where they are, right? Because Oakland, as we just talked about, has a different situation than St. Petersburg, Tampa, St. Pete area. Um, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, the team is performing much better now than the team in Oakland. So that is an added wrinkle, and it'll be interesting to see. Like you said, there's so many things being discussed, and I am just I'm very interested. Obviously, Charlotte is a major league city. They support a baseball, a basketball and a football team. Nashville is really a great town and up and coming town. Those are two towns I love. That definitely deserve to have a major league team, or at least a chance at a major league team. So it'll be interesting to see if it's the Rays or if it's expansion or if there's contraction and somebody moves there that's struggling. But whatever the case is in Tampa, those guys are doing a fantastic job. They have a great team. The product on the field is amazing. And they just get the most out of whatever they're doing. So you gotta give it to that organization.
No, without question. It's funny whenever the Rays give up on a player, you know that there's a reason why.
Hmm.
I mean, we can go back. I mean, the latest one is probably Blake Snell, but you can go back and if they're giving up on that player and everybody's like, why are they giving up on this guy? There's a reason. Listen, their scouting is incredible, right? It has to be because they can't miss. They very rarely miss, right?
No, they have a really great infrastructure in the front office of evaluating players and getting the players that can help them, because sometimes you see these guys like Phillips or whatever who did a great job for them for a bunch of years, and then he just kind of bounced around, once he left them because, he fit he fit what they were doing, and maybe didn't have fit another place. So it's interesting.
The
It's
one thing,
very interesting.
yeah, it is. The one thing for me though, as a Rays fan, and this is probably why they struggle with the fan base, is very few of these guys they know are not going to be with the team, right? So you're rooting for the jersey. You're not even rooting for the player.
Right.
You got Wander Franco, yes, right. But after that, like that if you have a superstar, you better sign him early. And let's face it, if he's a Boris Klein, he ain't signing early, and so you're going to lose that guy, right?
Yeah.
That to me is one of the things I've noticed. And as a fan, I'm like, wow, like what, like it'd be kind of nice, like what jersey do I buy? You know what I mean? Like right now, they probably sell 99% Wander Franco jerseys because he's the
No,
guy
well,
that's going to be there.
no doubt. But like Willie Adames was there, right? And Willie
Yeah.
Adames was a kind of a guy that everybody loved, and he was a great player. And then it was like, all right, but then sure enough, now he's in Milwaukee, and then here's Wander Franco, and he's the next big thing. So, like I said, these guys just have a secret formula. It's like the Colonel's secret recipe for fried chicken. I mean, these guys just have a real way that they do things, and you got to give it to that organization. They're awesome.
No, they are. They are. I mean, listen, it's going to be, it would have to be a major collapse for them, or a major run by any one of these teams. Because by the way, Baltimore is looking pretty damn good.
No, Baltimore's really
Wow.
had a nice couple of years here, and so they had let's talk about another organization with a long proud history that kind of struggled the last bunch of years, but they've definitely found something there, and they're
They
working
drafted
towards
well.
yeah, they've done a nice job. So you got to give it to them. But the Rays remind me, this goes back, going way back to the Tigers back in, I think,
84,
84, that they,
35 and 5.
yeah, they just got off to a ridiculous start and just kind of coasted the rest of the way. And, the Rays are off to one of those starts. Whether they can maintain it, it's going to be tough to maintain 20-3. But look, they look like they have a great team, and I'm certainly I'm here for the
Yeah, for the ride.
I'm here for the ride. I'm here to watch. So
Yeah.
watch Randy Arozarena and watch and the boys and see what they're gonna do. But we Lou, baseball wise, there's some interesting topics going on this year. I mean, there's a bunch of interesting stories that are developing around the league. I know there was another one you wanted to talk about.
Well, there's a few. One of the ones that I forgot to mention to you when we last spoke is that 33-year-old rookie with Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I don't know if you saw the video, but these videos, these moments are the ones that really kind of like makes me, reminds me why I fall in love with this game, right? Unlike any other sport, like when you get that call to the big leagues, forget about when you're 19, 20, 21, like, like Volpe, for example, but you're 33 years old, you've grinded through the minors, written the buses, and then you get that call. It must be
No,
amazing. I mean,
you
like you
you
as an agent, you've experienced that so many times.
mhm.
I mean, I know how the player must feel. How do you feel for that player?
No, it's pretty cool when that happens, and it's funny. Somebody sent me one of my clients, who's never made it to the big league, sent me the video of the guy getting called up and said, "This is why I'm still playing."
That's
Like basically like this. So I mean, it's a wonderful thing when this happens because unless you're in the game and you really understand the game, or you really understand the game, or both, it's hard to put into words, kind of how difficult it is. You know, we both coach our sons in little league, and you got these parents running around here thinking that it's going to be it's going to be a free pass to get to professional baseball. And the fact of the matter is, it's just the hardest thing you could possibly do.
Mhm.
It's so difficult, and for it's hard if you're not in the game to understand how difficult it is to get to that top and get, forget about the Mike Trouts and Otanis and Aaron Judges of the world, just to get that shot in the big, even as a professional player, or get drafted in the 40th round or whatever. It's almost impossible. So it's such a small number of people that actually get there. And how many kids, when you can go to any field in the country and out of the country now, you go to DR or Venezuela or Puerto Rico or Colombia, and, all these, for Canada, Australia, all these places where kids are playing every weekend and working and practicing, and all these things, to get to the top is almost impossible. So when you see a guy who gets drafted as an 18-year-old or even a 22-year-old and rides a bus around the minor leagues of this country for 10, 11 years and signs, you just I mean, it's such a moving thing for that to happen, and to see that, it's just incredible. And you have to feel so good for these people, because all that they've had to deal with, leaving their families, not being around, all missing birthday parties and holidays, and not being, being on the road at all times, and in crappy hotels, and eating terrible food, and all those things that people just don't understand. They just assume it's a glamorous life. And but again, I've, lived it, and it's incredible that you see this. And when you see someone with the perseverance to stick around, because I know so many people who just said, "Hey, I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't do it anymore." Because, well, also financially, I mean, they're working on fixing that, and they're unionizing the minor leagues now,
Yeah,
leaguers
that's
now,
helpful.
which is fantastic. It's going to be a big boost to those people, but that still doesn't mean that, these guys are going to be still making, if they want to support a family and,
Yeah.
buy a house, they're going to need more, more help. So it's just, it's such a, it's such a nice story, and you always see a couple of them every year. So all I really, they're really a feel good story. So I love to see that.
Before we go, you don't have to name the player, but which player, one of your clients, had the best response to getting called up to a major league game?
Uh, I mean, obviously, it's always exciting when you're gonna, if and sometimes I've been lucky enough to break the news.
Oh
So,
wow!
so it's sometimes, with certain clients, and it's very, very exciting. Um, yeah, no, I mean, but most of the time it's, you're not in person, so it's on the phone. You're screaming, or maybe they're with their family, or somebody is with them, or with whatever, a wife or a girlfriend, and
Did you ever get a client of yours, think you were joking?
yes, yes. It's always a touching thing. But there's on the other side of the spectrum, and we're not going to touch on it now. It's going to be a teaser for a future show. I also had a client who called himself up to the major leagues, and the team didn't want him. But that's another story for another time. We'll
Yes,
talk about that again later, in a later episode. But
that's
Lou,
awesome.
it's been a pleasure. Listen, we got a lot more to talk about. We'll be back soon. Everybody, thanks for watching.